Hello there and welcome back. Tonight, we're going to trace a quiet journey. A journey far beyond the warmth of this room, beyond the blue veil of our sky, into a silence so profound it holds the echo of the very beginning of everything. Take a moment to settle in. Let the sound of my voice be a soft thread guiding you into stillness, inviting the day's last tension to simply unfurl and dissipate. Maybe you're listening late at night with the world quiet around you, just the soft breathing of a distant engine on the highway, or the gentle turning of the wind outside your window, a quiet sigh passing through the trees. Find a comfort that feels like a slow, deep breath, a surrender to the stillness of this moment, allowing your shoulders to soften, your mind to quiet, and your body to become heavy and perfectly still. We're going to think about armour, not the heavy, clanging kind forged in the smoke of old history, the metal plates that demanded violence, but a more gentle, more profound kind of shield, a flexible, quiet boundary. Imagine, for a soft moment standing in the void, you are suspended, utterly alone, with a silent, inky canvas stretched out around you, a darkness so deep it absorbs light, a stillness so complete it seems to hold all the secrets of time. This canvas is dusted with diamonds of light that belong to no time and no place you've ever known. Stars that do not twinkle but burn with relentless cold clarity. This is the silent theatre of space, a magnificent, terrifying expanse where the simple act of breathing, the beating of a heart, the warmth of living, all of it is, by the laws of physics, an absolute impossibility. Our human form is designed for the gentle pressure and warm moisture of Earth, and here, in this vacuum, all those gifts are stripped away in an instant. But then, there is a whisper of defiance, a quiet, quilted miracle that allows a fragile human body to step out into that crushing, cold indifference and feel safe. A tiny, perfect universe of air and warmth carried on the shoulders of an explorer. This miracle, this vessel of life we will explore tonight, is the spacesuit. It is so much more than a simple garment. It is a portable Earth, a mobile sanctuary, custom-tailored for survival where survival is fundamentally forbidden. It is a tiny, perfect bubble of our planet's kindness, carried not just with weight, but with profound intention. How does it work? That is the quiet question we will unravel tonight, layer by slow, deliberate layer. But perhaps the deeper question is, what does it mean to carry your entire world with you, to be the absolute, singular source of your own life support? Let that soft wonder drift through your mind like a feather on a calm pool, the subtle mystery of human ingenuity meeting the silence of the cosmos. Think of the layers, the invisible, intricate web of support systems that must all agree, must all work in a perfect, whispering harmony for a single human minute to pass safely on the surface of the moon or in the vacuum between stars. This suit is a testament to the fact that to go to the loneliest place in the universe, you must bring the warmest, most complete embrace of your home. It provides air, pressure, temperature control, and a defense against tiny, invisible dangers, all while allowing the wearer to bend a finger, to turn a wrist, to do the work of discovery, the subtle, necessary movements of a living, thinking being. It must reconcile the enormous, violent truths of the cosmos with the small, delicate needs of the human body. The suit is the very skin of civilization stretched thin and tailored for the cosmic frontier, a seamless blend of soft textile and hard geometry, protecting the softest thing we know, human life. So let your mind wander into the folds and the hidden pathways of this remarkable shell. Let the knowledge drift in like the slow-moving tide of your own breathing, gentle and inevitable. There is no rush here. We are simply admiring a hidden miracle, a tapestry woven of air and light and courage, a quiet symbol of hope stitched into high tensile fabric. We are pausing to appreciate the ingenuity that says, we may be fragile, but we will not surrender to the void. We will create our own fragile bubble of Earth's atmosphere. This suit must constantly manage 4 major unrelenting threats that are always present in the silence. Pressure loss, temperature extremes, the lack of breathable air, and the subtle but deadly danger of radiation and tiny debris. It is the master regulator, the tireless internal diplomat, ensuring that the internal environment always maintains the perfect thin line of life. Consider the vastness of the challenge. A human body is an engine of heat and moisture, a constant output of energy and gas, and the suit must absorb and recycle all of it, silently, continuously, without fail. It is a closed-loop system so carefully balanced that even a small fluctuation in temperature or carbon dioxide levels could be fatal. Yet, we look at the pictures and see astronauts moving, sometimes leaping, performing delicate tasks, and the immensity of the engineering challenge is hidden by the sheer poetry of the successful outcome. The suit is a quiet demonstration of focus, requiring thousands of components to agree to one thing: the persistence of life. Perhaps just for a moment consider where you're listening from tonight. Is it near the ocean, where the air is heavy with salt and mist? Or high up in a silent apartment, where the city lights form their own distant galaxy? Or surrounded by the soft shadows of a sleeping house, where every window is a protective lens against the night? Wherever it is, let that feeling of grounded safety be the starting point for our journey outward, the anchor that holds us as we drift toward the stars. We begin with the soft, impossible pressure, the fundamental battle of the suit. Let your final thought for this section be one of soft wonder, that the simple act of breathing, which is so effortless for you right now, is, for the astronaut, a triumph of complex engineered grace. We are now ready to move toward the first layer of understanding, how the suit masters the essential challenge of air and pressure. Just let your mind be receptive, soft, and ready to drift. The room is dark now, and the only sound is the gentle, rhythmic wash of a distant sea against a shore you cannot see. Only sense. A slow, ceaseless rhythm of ebb and flow, just like the subtle exchange of air that keeps us alive. Let the sound pull you deeper into a state of calm suspension. We begin the journey into the suit not with its outermost shimmering shell, but with its most profound, essential purpose, the simple, absolute necessity of pressure. Imagine that you're standing on a beach, on a perfectly normal day, perhaps even feeling a light breeze on your skin. You feel the sun, the wind, the heavy, silent column of air pressing down on you. That column of air stretching miles above you, all the way to the vague, thinning edge where sky meets space, weighs quite heavily on your skin, about 14 pounds on every square inch of your body, or about 2,116 pounds per square foot. We do not notice it. This vast, colossal weight, equivalent to a small car pressing down on you, is unnoticed not because it is weak, but because our own bodies, our cells, our blood, push back with an equal, opposite force from the inside. It is a perfect, silent handshake, a constant, balanced dialogue between the entire atmosphere and the individual self, maintaining the structural integrity of every cell wall and vessel. This balance is a condition so universal to life on Earth that our bodies have completely forgotten how to exist without it. We are creatures of pressure, our very biochemistry dependent on this steady, invisible squeeze. Now consider the vacuum of space, the ultimate silence, the absolute negation of atmosphere. There is no column of air pushing down, no partner in the handshake. The external force drops almost instantly to near zero, leaving the body's internal pressure suddenly unopposed. If a person were to step unprotected into that vacuum, the pressure inside their body, accustomed to fighting the Earth's weight, would suddenly have nothing to push against. This is not a dramatic explosion, not a sudden, violent burst of cartoon physics. It is a quieter, more subtle horror, a deep, rapid disruption of the body's chemistry. It is the phenomenon known as ebulism, the boiling of blood and tissue. At the near absolute zero pressure of space, the boiling point of the fluids in the human body drops rapidly to that of body temperature, around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius. The water in your blood, in your saliva, in your eyes would begin to vaporize instantly, gently but persistently turning into gas, expanding within the body. This rapid formation of gas bubbles in the tissues would cause severe swelling, a painful and immediate disruption to circulation, and a complete cessation of oxygen transfer. The astronaut would lose consciousness in mere seconds, around 10 to 15 seconds, long before other slower dangers, like freezing or radiation, could take effect. This is the first fundamental law the spacesuit must obey. It must be a flexible pressure vessel, a tiny, personal atmosphere capable of restoring the stability of life. It must re-establish that silent handshake, creating its own miniature high-pressure world to press gently but firmly against the astronaut's body. This is the job of the pressure garment. often a strong, non-elastic fabric shell that forms the primary structure of the suit, the layer that contains the precious air. It is a multi-layered shell, an intricate design that is essentially a human-shaped balloon wrapped in a layer of restraint. This restraint layer is crucial, as it is the part that dictates the suit's shape and prevents the pressurized inner bladder from simply swelling into an unwieldy, rigid sphere, which would make movement completely impossible. The suit is inflated not to the full atmospheric pressure of Earth, 14.7 psi, that would make movement almost impossible, like trying to bend a stiff garden hose or move while encased in rigid steel, but to a carefully calculated lower pressure. This lower pressure, typically around 4.3 pounds per square inch for American suits, used outside the spacecraft, is just enough to keep the human body's chemistry in a stable, liquid state and prevent ebulism. It is a masterful compromise, just enough pressure to survive but low enough to allow for some movement. But here is the subtle, vital magic, the silent agreement made by the designers. Because the pressure inside the suit is only about a third of Earth's atmosphere, there isn't enough total air pressure to drive the necessary oxygen into the astronauts' lungs and blood if they were breathing Earth's normal air mixture. So, the astronaut breathes a pure oxygen atmosphere instead of the 21% oxygen mixture we have here on Earth. By breathing 100% oxygen at 4.3 psi, the partial pressure of oxygen, the amount of oxygen actually reaching the lungs and entering the bloodstream, is sufficient to sustain life and prevent hypoxia. This substitution is a gentle chemical compromise, a slow, intentional re-engineering of the immediate environment to make the impossible effortlessly possible. Before an astronaut goes out on a spacewalk, they must spend several hours pre-breathing this pure oxygen atmosphere. This is a quiet, necessary ritual called denitrogenation. It flushes the nitrogen, the inert filler gas that makes up 78% of Earth's air, out of their bloodstream and tissues. If this nitrogen were not removed, the rapid drop in pressure from the spacecraft cabin to the suit would cause it to form bubbles in the blood, leading to a potentially fatal condition known as decompression sickness, or the bends, which afflicts deep-sea divers who surface too quickly. So, the spacesuit journey begins with a quiet, measured wait, a period of profound stillness and deep breathing to chemically prepare the body for its temporary absence from home. Feel the weight of your own breath now, soft and deep, in and out. The air perfectly calibrated for your needs. A quiet miracle you never had to negotiate. The suit is working to replicate that effortless miracle, the seamless exchange of life for waste, in a place that offers only nothingness. The first layer of understanding, then, is this. The suit is a bubble against boiling, a flexible fortress against the crushing absence of air. It is the essential truth of physics turned into tailored textile. It is the atmosphere we take for granted, folded up and zipped around a human being, a temporary extension of the blue sky held in check by strong silent fabric. Let the thought of that perfect internal balance drift over you, like the smooth, cooling rhythm of a distant heartbeat, slow and steady, performing its duty without complaint. We have mastered pressure. We move now to the next quiet challenge, the unseen enemy of extremes, the brutal confrontation with the cosmos's wild temperatures. The heartbeat you sense is soft, rhythmic and perfectly controlled, the quiet, steady pulse of life inside the sealed pressure vessel. This pulse brings us to the hidden mechanism of temperature, the constant, quiet struggle between fire and ice that the suit must win every single moment of the spacewalk. Space is often thought of as simply cold, a vast empty freezer where temperatures approach absolute zero cold. And that is partially true, particularly in the deepest shadows where heat, having nothing to radiate into, simply vanishes. But in the direct, unfiltered sunlight, without the protective veil of Earth's atmosphere to filter, absorb and diffuse the sun's intense energy, the temperatures become brutally, immediately high. The difference between standing in shadow and standing in direct sunlight on the moon, or even just turning from the dark side of a spacecraft to the light side, can be a change of over 500 degrees Fahrenheit. In the shade, where the sun's energy is completely absent, temperatures plummet to around minus 250 degrees Fahrenheit. In the direct, unfiltered sun, they soar above 250 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to bake a meal quickly. The suit, therefore, cannot just be a blanket. It must be a thermodynamic diplomat, managing the violent, instantaneous swings of the cosmos maintaining a constant, gentle spring day inside its shell. This is the primary role of the thermal micrometeoroid garment, or TMG, the shimmering, often off-white outermost layer we all recognise from photographs and films. The TMG is not just one layer of cloth, but a series of many, many thin layers, often 7 to 13 layers of specialised fragile-looking materials like mylar, dacron and capton, each separated by a small vacuum gap or a fine mesh. Think of it like a silent, complex onion, each skin serving a precise, invisible purpose in the physics of heat transfer. The outermost layer, often a white or light-coloured, highly durable fabric, like orthofabric, is a mirror. It is designed to be highly reflective, bouncing away the intense, unfiltered solar radiation like a silent scream of light, rejecting over 90% of the sunlight that strikes it. This is the principle of radiation reflection, rejecting the heat before it can begin to penetrate. The layers beneath that, typically the shiny, thin sheets of aluminized mylar, work to insulate. They reflect heat that tries to radiate inward from the sun, but also, critically, they reflect the astronaut's own precious body heat back inside when needed, like a personal furnace, preventing it from escaping into the bitter cold of the shade. The vacuum gaps between these layers are essential, as the void is the perfect non-conductor of heat, minimizing energy transfer by conduction or convection. The TMG also serves a second, equally quiet yet critical function: protection against the micrometeoroid threat. In the vast emptiness of space, there is a constant, subtle shower of tiny, high-velocity particles, grains of dust, flakes of paint, and miniature meteoroids, often travelling faster than a bullet. Even a particle the size of a grain of sand can carry enough kinetic energy to pierce an unprotected suit, causing an immediate, catastrophic pressure leak. The TMG's layers are separated to intentionally cause these particles to fragment and vaporize. The first few layers stop the particle, and the energy is dissipated across the vacuum gaps and subsequent layers, a concept called a bumper shield, turning a deadly projectile into harmless dispersed dust. So, the outer layers manage the world outside, the fire, the ice, and the bullet-like dust. But the astronaut too is generating enormous amounts of metabolic heat as they work. A human body in a sealed, insulated suit, performing physically demanding tasks like operating tools, climbing on handholds, or moving heavy equipment, can quickly generate 1,000 to 1,500 BTUs of heat per hour, rapidly leading to dangerous overheating. To solve this internal furnace problem, the suit employs a truly elegant, aquatic solution hidden beneath the pressure garment and against the skin. This is the Liquid Cooling and Ventilation Garment, or LCVG. It is essentially a set of long underwear, a flexible, mesh fabric garment, woven through with a fine network of tiny hair-like tubes. These are made of medical-grade plastic, usually PVC or Teflon, and there can be hundreds of feet of this tubing laced across the entire surface of the body. Through this entire network of tubing, chilled water is constantly circulated, flowing over the astronaut's skin, acting as a tireless internal coolant. It draws away the excess body heat like an invisible, gentle current, maintaining the astronaut's core temperature at a safe, comfortable level. This warmed water then flows out of the suit and into a small portable device on the astronaut's back, a piece of equipment known as the primary life support subsystem, the essential backpack. In the backpack, that accumulated heat must be shed into the vacuum of space using a sublimator, a brilliant, simple technology that is essentially a heat exchanger that exploits the vacuum. The water tubes pass through the sublimator, which contains a porous plate. As the warm water flows through, a small amount of coolant water, not the suit circulation water, is allowed to seep onto the plate and is exposed to the vacuum. The vacuum immediately pulls the water from a liquid state directly into a vapour, a process called sublimation. This phase change requires a large amount of energy, and that energy is violently sucked from the porous plate and the circulating warm water, cooling it rapidly. The resulting water vapour or ice particles are then quietly vented harmlessly into space. It is a constant, subtle exchange. Life's heat for space's cold, using the void itself as the ultimate coolant. The suit is thus a perfectly regulated microclimate, a tiny personal bubble where the difference between 250 degrees and minus 250 degrees is erased by layers of shimmering fabric and the quiet, steady, essential flow of chilled water. The LCVG also contains another essential component, the ventilation part of its name. A network of ducts delivers a stream of cool, purified air across the astronaut's face and inside the helmet. This air removes some heat, but primarily prevents the helmet visor from fogging up. A small, silent danger that could obscure vision and jeopardize the mission. This gentle flow of air across the face, the softest of internal breezes, is a constant comfort. A subtle reminder that the life support system is ceaselessly at work. Let that thought wash over you. The quiet, endless work of balance, the hidden pump, the circulating water, the mirrored fabric, all agreeing to keep a single, vulnerable life in the perfect, safe middle. Feel the gentle current of that inner mechanism working, soft and essential, like the slow, distant footsteps of someone walking away on a dirt path, fading now into the background of your awareness. We have mastered the extremes of heat and cold, transforming the violence of the cosmos into a gentle, temperate hum. The soft footsteps fade now, and we are left with a feeling of profound stillness. We have explored the modern miracle of containment and thermal control. Now let us connect this intricate, tailored machine to something older, deeper, and more fundamental, the ancient connection of containment and breath, the very definitions of life on Earth. Before the sleek, multi-layered spacesuit, before the mylar and the complex life support backpacks, there was the simple, profound need for shelter. Our entire story as a species is the story of creating boundaries. The slow evolution from standing exposed on the savannah to retreating into the shadow of the cave mouth, to the hearth, the wall, the roof, all designed with one implicit purpose: to keep the perfect, vital conditions in and the hostile, dangerous conditions out. The spacesuit is merely the ultimate refinement of the first animal impulse, to build a nest against the dark, to carry a small piece of our perfect, safe interior into the indifferent vastness of the exterior. Think of the deep-sea diver's bell from centuries past, a heavy, inverted bowl used to carry a pocket of Earth's air down into the watery abyss. It was a crude, massive version of the pressure vessel, an admission that the ocean floor, like space, is a hostile frontier where human biology cannot survive unaided. Or think of the pressurized cabins of early high-altitude flyers, necessary because they were climbing into a thinner, less giving atmosphere than the human body was evolved to handle. Each one of these historical steps was an implicit admission that the perfect, cushioned world we evolved in is a thin film, a delicate membrane easily broken, and that life requires a constant, active defense of its own atmosphere. But the connection goes deeper than human history. It stretches back to the very origins of life. Long before we went to the moon, life itself, in its earliest form, invented the pressure garment, the cell membrane of every living thing. From the smallest bacteria drifting in the air to the largest whale swimming in the ocean, is a perfect, flexible boundary. It is a microscopic spacesuit. The membrane selectively allows good things in, nutrients, water, information, and keeps bad things out, toxins, destabilizing forces, all while maintaining a stable internal pressure and chemical balance against the shifting world outside. The spacesuit, with its careful layers and regulated flows, is simply the macro expression of the tiny, tireless work happening inside every single cell of your body right now, maintaining that essential, fragile boundary. The ancient connection here is the principle of the envelope. Every living system requires an envelope, a boundary, to differentiate the self from the not-self, the safe from the dangerous. And the core of that envelope's work is to manage gas exchange, taking in what is needed, expelling what is not, the breath. This brings us to the second pillar of the ancient connection, the primary life support subsystem, the iconic backpack, the PLSS. In this grand, reflective view, the PLSS is nothing more than a highly advanced, portable external lung and air purifier, performing the fundamental work that trees and oceans perform for our planet. It is a closed loop, meaning the air the astronaut breathes out must be immediately cleaned, refreshed, and recirculated back to them. The PLSS performs three essential quiet duties related to the breath. 1. Oxygen supply. It provides the pure oxygen, O2, required to keep the astronaut conscious and safe at the suit's low internal pressure. 2. Carbon dioxide removal. It removes the carbon dioxide, CO2, the astronaut exhales. This gas, invisible and odorless, can quickly become a silent poison in a closed, confined loop. 3. Humidity control. It removes the significant moisture the astronaut exhales and sweats. The removal of carbon dioxide is particularly essential, as it can accumulate rapidly. The suit uses specialised chemicals, most famously lithium hydroxide cartridges, to chemically scrub the exhaled carbon dioxide. The CO2 passes through the cartridge and reacts with the lithium hydroxide to form benign salts and water, effectively cleansing the life stream. This mechanism is a cycle of constant cleansing, a soft, ongoing act of renewal and rejection, mirroring the silent, ceaseless cycles of our own atmosphere, which uses photosynthesis and absorption to manage the balance of gases, just as the Earth's atmosphere constantly cycles, purifies and supports. The small, fragile atmosphere of the suit must perform the same essential, life-giving dance, minute after minute. Imagine the quiet dedication of the air flowing from the suit, being stripped of the CO2, dried of its moisture, mixed with fresh oxygen and flowing back cool and clean into the helmet. This process is what transforms the hostile absolute vacuum into a place where thinking can occur. Without this ancient connection, the perfect envelope and the managed breath, the human mind and body could not endure. The suit, therefore, is not a radical break from nature, but a continuation of nature's most basic logic, the defined self in a hostile medium. This is the timeless wisdom embodied in the suit, the necessity of the perfect boundary, the quiet miracle of the managed breath, the creation of a miniature world that honours the biological needs of a fragile organism. Let the awe of this simple, profound link drift over you, like the slow, steady current of a deep river flowing toward an unknown sea. We are all, in a sense, wearing a biological spacesuit, walking through the gentle atmosphere of Earth. The astronaut's suit is simply a reminder of that deep truth, a visible testament to the fragility and strength of the living thing, and its relentless, quiet persistence. Now, we will shift to the moment when all these forces meet, the challenge of movement within this carefully contained world. The river flows on, silent and ceaseless, a deep current of continuity connecting the ancient past of breath to the mechanical present of the life support system. In this deep, quiet current, we arrive at a paradox, a subtle moment of contradiction, where the suit must be two things at once, opposing forces held in a single, necessary harmony. The suit must be a rigid pressure vessel to keep the astronaut from boiling, a hard-shell fortress to withstand the crushing vacuum outside, a sturdy balloon filled with life-giving gas. But it must also be a flexible garment, allowing the fragile human inside to perform delicate, complex work, to turn a tiny wrench, to collect a precious lunar sample, to feel the world with their gloved hands. How can a pressurized balloon, stiff and rounded with internal force, also allow for the subtle, human articulation of a hand, a shoulder, or a knee? This is the paradox moment of the spacesuit, the essential negotiation between physics and physiology. If you have ever inflated a bicycle tyre or a beach ball very tightly, you know how hard it is to bend that material. The pressure inside fights any attempt to fold or flex the material, resisting all change in shape. The effort required to overcome the pressure in a fully inflated, unstructured suit would exhaust the astronaut in mere minutes. The early spacesuits were indeed so difficult to move that astronauts would sometimes describe their work as a constant wrestling match with their own armour, becoming physically drained simply by trying to slightly bend an arm or rotate a waist. To solve this physical defiance, the suit designers introduced the concept of soft controlled joints, points of engineered surrender where flexibility is prioritised without losing the essential seal. Look, in your mind's eye, at the elbow or the knee of a modern spacesuit. You will see areas that look like bellows, or the flexible piping of a vacuum cleaner hose. These are the convolutes or mobility joints. These are accordion-like fabric folds that manage the pressure by constantly folding and unfolding, allowing the limb to bend without increasing the stress on the fabric. They are structured to contain the pressure while allowing a designated, safe range of motion, providing a path of least resistance for the movement. This simple, clever design means the astronaut is not fighting the pressure, they are simply guiding the fold. At the major joints, the shoulder, the waist, and most critically the wrist, the suit employs even more sophisticated solutions. Bearing joints. These are like tiny, circular built-in ball bearings or rings that allow one segment of the suit to rotate freely against the other. They are the mechanical heart of the suit's flexibility. These bearings are designed to handle the internal pressure by distributing it evenly around a circular pathway, allowing the limb to pivot and flex with far less effort. often in full 360-degree rotation. They are the engineering equivalent of a whispered agreement between the crushing vacuum and the moving body. A small, essential compromise built from Teflon and high-strength aluminum. The suit, therefore, is not one continuous pressurized balloon, but a collection of semi-rigid segments connected by these elegant low-friction joints and flexible convolutes. This delicate system of pivots and folds ensures that the energy the astronaut expends is used for work and discovery, not simply for fighting the suit's own internal logic. And then there are the gloves. The glove is arguably the most difficult, most personalised part of the spacesuit to design. It must provide absolute pressure and thermal protection, while remaining thin and sensitive enough for the astronaut to perform incredibly fine tactile manoeuvres, connecting cables, flipping switches, or manipulating small tools. Imagine trying to thread a needle while wearing a fully inflated, stiff balloon on your hand. The task is nearly impossible. The pressure resists the inward curl of the fingers, forcing the hand into a naturally uncomfortable open position. The gloves use a combination of pressure bladders and robust external restraint layers to maintain shape and pressure, while still allowing the fingers to curl and grip without debilitating fatigue. The restraint layer, often woven or moulded into the shape of a curved hand, tries to hold the glove in a natural resting position, the same way your hand rests when relaxed. This pre-tensioning helps the astronaut, as they only have to exert muscle power to close the hand, rather than fighting both the muscle resistance and the internal pressure. The bearings at the wrist and often at the knuckles allow the astronaut to rotate and flex their hand and fingers with far greater dexterity than the sheer thickness of the material might suggest. And for enhanced tactile feedback, the fingertips often have specialised, thin, yet strong materials. This allows the astronaut to feel the cold metal, the click of the latch, or the rough texture of the lunar rock through the many layers of fabric, bridging the immense gulf between machine and sensation. The suit, therefore, is not a simple container. It is a masterpiece of managed tension, a body of hundreds of moving, flexible parts that are constantly, quietly negotiating with the rigid laws of physics. It is a paradox of strength and subtlety, of hard containment and soft articulation, a silent conversation between the engineer and the human hand. This quiet agreement, the ability to be a rigid fortress and a flexible shell at the same time, is what transforms the suit from a mere survival device into a true extension of the human will, allowing a single individual to interact with the vastness. Let the feeling of that subtle, tensile strength wash over you, like the soft friction of a heavy fabric rubbing against itself, a comforting, rhythmic sound. It is the tension of the suit that ultimately allows for release and movement, proving that the greatest strength lies in the ability to strategically yield. We are now ready to expand our view outward, connecting this individual struggle to the largest canvas we know, the cosmos itself. The soft friction of the joints fades into a profound sense of connectedness. We look outward now, beyond the shimmering fabric of the suit and the pressurized space within, and see the suit's quiet logic reflected in the wider mirror of the cosmos itself. The spacesuit is an intricately engineered system, yes, but its principles are universal and ancient, echoing the grand cosmic patterns of isolation and connection, of self-sustaining life against chaos. Think, for a moment, of a planet. Our own Earth is, in essence, a gigantic, perfect spacesuit for the entire biosphere, a self-contained vessel floating in the absolute vacuum. It provides the necessary internal pressure through its gravity, pulling the atmosphere tightly against the surface. It holds the perfect thermal balance through its orbit and thick atmospheric veil, filtering the sun's intensity and preventing instant heat loss. It supplies the vital life support gases in a harmonious, self-renewing cycle. The Earth's atmosphere is its TMG, its thermal micrometeoroid garment, its shining, reflective, multi-layered shield that keeps the extremes of space at bay, managing the flow of energy in and out, and the planet's molten core and powerful magnetic field act as a deep, hidden protector, a deflector shield that turns aside the harsh, charged particles of the solar wind, the cosmic micrometeoroids that would otherwise strip away the fragile envelope of life. In this vast reflective perspective, the astronaut's suit is a tiny, perfect analogue of the planet itself, a miniature, portable Earth, reminding us that all life, everywhere, exists only within a carefully protected membrane. The suit is a scale model of the conditions required for sentience to thrive. This reflection shows us the principle of the boundary at its grandest scale. The Earth must be separate from the void to maintain its life-giving conditions. The suit must be separate from the vacuum to maintain its own internal atmosphere. The isolation of the suit, the fact that it perfectly separates the human from the void, is precisely what enables the connection to the universe. Only when safely enclosed within the suit can the astronaut reach out and touch the silence, collect the pristine lunar dust, or gaze upon the full, unfiltered spectacle of the stars without the distortion of the Earth's own atmosphere. It is the beautiful paradox of exploration. You must be perfectly contained to truly be free to roam. This pattern of contained energy and balanced forces is not limited to planets and suits. It is foundational to the universe. Consider the star itself, the distant, silent source of all our light and energy. A star is a massive, controlled nuclear fusion reactor, a constant, ongoing paradox of explosion and collapse. It is only through the immense inward crush of its own gravity that the star is able to contain the violent outward energy of the fusion process. It is a self-contained, high-pressure furnace, held in check by its own massive weight, releasing a steady, perfect flow of light and heat, a constant, reliable stream of life support for a solar system. The suit is a quiet reflection of this stellar balance, the internal pressure fighting the external vacuum, held in perfect check by the tensile strength of the fabric and the gentle persistence of the life support system. Both the suit and the star are machines of self-definition against infinite space. The suit also mirrors the quiet universal process of recycling. As we learned, the suit's life support system meticulously scrubs the exhaled air, cooling the water and removing the carbon dioxide to keep the atmosphere pure. This echoes the vast, slow geological cycles of Earth. The deep time process of turning carbon dioxide into limestone, of purifying rain, of reoxygenating air through the relentless quiet work of forests and oceans. The little sublimator in the backpack, silently venting water vapour, is a miniature cloud machine, participating in a tiny engineered version of the hydrological cycle. The wider mirror shows us that the very act of being requires a boundary, a sustained act of definition against the vast, indifferent potential of everything else. It requires a perfect, contained economy of energy and substance. The spacesuit is simply the most visible, portable demonstration of this cosmic rule. Let the thought of this universal principle settle softly over you, like the slow, silent descent of a feather in a windless room, connecting your breath to the cycle of the planet and the planet's armour to the suit's shell. The suit is a small, quiet lesson in cosmic geometry, a spherical, perfect representation of self-sustaining, defiant life. We now turn inward, exploring the feelings and sensations that this ultimate form of containment generates. What sensation or feeling do you find most calming tonight? Is it the sound of water or the deep quiet? The silence is deep now, and the world outside feels far away, reduced to a single blue marble suspended in the distance. We turn inward, gently, to the emotional undercurrent that flows beneath the technology, the fabric, and the rigid geometry of the suit. To wear the spacesuit is to step into a state of profound vulnerability that is simultaneously masked by absolute protection. It is the ultimate awareness of fragility, wrapped in a masterpiece of human assurance. Imagine the sensations inside that perfectly sealed shell. There is the constant soft hum of the fan in the backpack, tirelessly circulating the air. A tiny, man-made wind that is the absolute guarantee of your next breath. There is the hiss and click of the valve that controls the oxygen flow, a subtle, sharp noise that reminds the wearer of the chemical exchange of life and waste moment by moment. And there is the cool, gentle pressure of the LCVG water tubes against the skin, hundreds of small channels forming a constant, subtle reminder of the life support that is actively, quietly working to draw away your excess heat. It is a feeling of being constantly, subtly embraced by chilled water. Every single noise, every mechanical sensation is a whisper of survival. If the fan stops, the air quickly becomes heavy with carbon dioxide. If the cooling stops, the body rapidly overheats. The astronaut is suspended in a kind of hyper-aware solitude, where every single physical input is a direct critical line to the fundamental, non-negotiable state of their existence. This feeling necessitates a deep trust, a surrender to the layers, the tubes, the pumps, and the thousands of unseen engineering decisions made by people back on Earth. perhaps people the astronaut has never even met. The suit demands not just physical competence, but a complete meditative surrender to the system. This intense, existential trust creates a unique emotional landscape within the suit. It is a feeling of focused, meditative calm born from the necessity of total attention. The small, petty anxieties of Earth, the unpaid bill, the forgotten chore, the minor slight, have no air to breathe here. They dissipate in the vacuum. The only emotion that can survive the vacuum is the pure, concentrated feeling of the task at hand, mixed with a profound awe at the immensity of the setting. This focus is a form of purified attention, where the entire mind is dedicated to the slow, measured steps of work and survival. It is a quiet, mental state, akin to a deep, prolonged breath held perfectly steady. Think of the gloved hand reaching out to delicately touch a rock that has been untouched by life, by atmosphere, by water, for 4 billion years. In that moment, the weight of the history of the universe is held in a pressurized, human-controlled shell. The human is small, utterly alone, yet simultaneously connected to the immense deep time of creation. The suit enables a pure form of presence, a singular, uninterrupted moment of contact and discovery, where the mind is sharp because the stakes are absolute. The emotional current in the suit is the quiet courage of being perfectly dependent, yet utterly free to explore. It is the knowledge that the only thing separating you from the absolute end is a few layers of cloth and the steady pump of a machine. And yet, it is precisely this dependency, this perfect reliance on technology and collective ingenuity, that allows for the greatest act of self-reliance, the ability to move, to think, and to survive, to make a human decision in the most desolate environment imaginable. The suit reminds the wearer that their life is a vessel of accumulated care. Every stitch, every seal, every sensor is an act of trust sent from Earth. This is the soft burden of responsibility. The astronaut is not only responsible for their own life, but they are the singular representative of all the hope, effort, and engineering that went into building that fragile bubble. The suit carries an emotional echo of home, a constant low-frequency resonance of connection, even when the Earth is just a vast, beautiful sphere in the distance. The fabric of the suit is woven not only with mylar and dacron, but with the silent hope that the human experience, with its flaws, its curiosity, and its need for warmth, can be extended beyond its natural confines. Let the feeling of that quiet courage drift through your own body, a soft, warming sense of resilience and focused calm. The emotional undercurrent of the suit is the realization that fragility and strength are not opposites. They are two sides of the same miraculous coin, forever bound within the careful architecture of the life support system. We have felt the deep hum of survival. Now, we will gently connect these extraordinary truths back to the small, familiar wonders of our daily lives. We are moving with the flow of the script. Would you like to keep the pace with the next section, the everyday wonder? The warmth of resilience is a soft, comforting presence, a feeling of deep focus that remains even as the immense blackness of space begins to recede from the forefront of the mind. We gently pull back now from the vastness of space and connect this wonder, this quiet triumph of engineering, to the everyday world we inhabit. The spacesuit is a complex, high-tech marvel, a pinnacle of material science and mechanical control, but many of its core principles are already woven into the simple, familiar things that sustain and comfort our life here on the surface of the Earth. This is the everyday wonder, the realization that extraordinary solutions are often built from the elegant logic of ordinary physics. Think about your thermos flask, the one you might use to carry hot tea on a cold day or ice water on a warm afternoon. It is a miniature, non-pressurized version of the suit's thermal protection system, a perfect lesson in insulation and reflection. A thermos keeps hot liquids hot and cold liquids cold because it has two walls with a carefully created vacuum in between them. The vacuum is one of the best insulators possible, preventing heat from escaping through convection, air movement, or conduction, direct contact. It simply gives heat no medium through which to travel. This is the very same principle used in the multi-layered mylar of the suit's TMG. The layers are not just fabric. They are meticulously separated to create miniature vacuum gaps, pockets of near-perfect insulation that drastically minimize energy transfer. The shiny inner surfaces of the thermos also work like the aluminized mylar layers of the suit, using reflection to bounce heat back toward its source, whether keeping the astronaut's internal heat in or the sun's external heat out. The suit is just a personal, walking thermos, ensuring that the stable thermal condition of the human body is maintained against all extremes. Or consider a simple breathing mask used in a hospital, or for deep-sea diving, or even the air filter in your home. It is performing the suit's gas exchange function, either enriching the air with oxygen or allowing for the easier, safer passage of breath by filtering out particulates. The suit's requirement for the precise removal of carbon dioxide is reflected in the simple air purifying filters we use to keep our indoor spaces fresh, just on a much smaller, intensely critical scale. The chemical reaction that cleans the astronaut's air is the same basic chemistry we use in countless ways to manage and refine our environment. The simple, quiet logic of the suit is already embedded in the tools we use for comfort and health every day. It is the logic of containment and purification. Even the sophisticated zippers and seals of the suit, which must be absolutely perfect and airtight to maintain pressure, are reflected in the familiar yet profound act of closing a common food storage container or a deep freezer bag. The requirement for an absolute, perfect seal against a hostile or undesirable environment is a principle we apply in the kitchen, the workshop, and the sailing boat. We are constantly creating small, controlled environments. The spacesuit simply raises the stakes of failure to the highest possible level. A slight leak in your freezer bag means spoiled food. A slight leak in the pressure garment means instant danger. But the concept is the same. The use of material strength and carefully designed closures to maintain a difference in condition across a boundary. This quiet reflection reminds us that technology is not a foreign imposition, but a deeply human echo of the logic of nature and physics. The small pump that circulates the cooling water through the LCVG shares the same fundamental engineering with the pump in your car radiator, or the one that circulates water in your home heating system. They are all simply machines designed to move liquid from a hot area to a cold area to facilitate the quiet transfer of thermal energy. The cosmic drama of the spacewalk is simply the exaggeration of an everyday challenge. How to stay warm, how to stay cool, and how to keep breathing clean air. We see the problem, the vacuum, the cold, the heat, and we use the same elegant tools of insulation, reflection, and containment that nature has been using for eons, just layered and reinforced to withstand an entirely new level of hostility. The suit is a powerful, quiet lesson in relatability. It demystifies the extraordinary by showing us that it is built from the same dependable truths that govern the boiling of water, the flow of heat, and the simple need for a boundary. Let the soft familiarity of these connections settle over you, like the gentle, rhythmic ticking of an old, reliable clock. Even the most extraordinary things are built from the simplest, most dependable truths of the universe. The suit is a collection of solutions we already knew. We just had to apply them with absolute, unwavering perfection. This feeling of grounded understanding prepares us for the softest and deepest section of our journey. The philosophical drift into the meaning of all this contained effort. The soft ticking continues, a steady, unhurried measure of time passing, a low-frequency hum connecting the small machines of Earth to the vast, silent mechanisms of the stars. In this deep quiet, having grounded the extraordinary in the everyday, we allow our thoughts to drift into the philosophical space opened up by the spacesuit, the contemplation of identity, dependency, and the nature of the human spirit. The suit is often called a spaceship for one, a microhabitat tailored for a single occupant. If this is true, then the act of wearing it is a profound philosophical statement about the nature of the self in its purest, most isolated form. It forces a contemplation of autonomy and isolation against the backdrop of infinity. Inside the suit, the astronaut is, for all practical purposes, an island perfectly adrift. The only air you breathe is the air you brought with you. The only water you drink is the water you recycled. The only warmth you feel is the warmth you generated and perfectly conserved. It is a perfect temporary act of self-sufficiency, a profound realization that the self can, for a brief, shining moment, carry all the conditions of its own possibility, unbound by the external atmosphere. The suit demands radical self-reliance, the ability to monitor every gauge, track every pressure fluctuation, and execute every procedure without immediate physical assistance. The ultimate responsibility for survival rests entirely within the confines of that pressurized shell, but this autonomy is also the ultimate isolation. The connection to the Earth, the connection to other humans, is reduced to two-way radio waves, a voice and a sound, distorted slightly by the comm system, but no shared breath, no shared sensation of the wind on the skin, no shared gravity. The spacesuit is a meditation on the boundary, the absolute non-negotiable separation required for identity to exist in a hostile medium. It is the physical manifestation of the self, standing alone and defined against the infinite not-self of the vacuum. It is the moment you step fully and absolutely into yourself, defined not by what surrounds you, but by the perfect conditions you've created within your shell, a deliberate separation that makes presence possible. If each breath here on Earth is an automatic, unconscious dialogue with the universe, a taking in of shared air and a giving back of recycled gas, maybe the suit is the perfect, intentional pause in that conversation. It is the moment the human chooses to speak entirely to itself, ensuring its own continuity before returning to the wider dialogue. Yet, this profound individual autonomy is instantly complicated by the suit's other, deeper truth. The suit is also the ultimate symbol of teamwork and collective dependency. No astronaut has ever built their own spacesuit. It is the product of millions of hours of thought, of material science breakthroughs, of countless failures, and of collective ingenuity from engineers, seamstresses, chemists, and physiologists on Earth. Every valve, every stitch, every layer of mylar is a vote of confidence from the human family. The lithium hydroxide cartridge scrubbing the CO2 in the backpack is a piece of transferred intellectual labour, the quiet knowledge of chemistry performing its duty hundreds of thousands of miles away. The suit is a transcendent paradox, an expression of absolute individual autonomy that is entirely dependent on absolute collective support. The astronaut is alone, yes, but they are also carrying the embodied history of their species in the lining of their gloves, protected by the trust placed in the quality of the zippers. This leads us to the quiet, poetic question. What is the real definition of alone? Are we truly alone when the very air we breathe, the fabric that protects us, is woven from the care, knowledge, and love of others? Perhaps the spacesuit teaches us that true self-reliance is not the rejection of help, but the perfect utilization of the help that has been given, the ability to take the complex gifts of civilization and manage them perfectly in a desolate environment. It is a profound realization that to step into the ultimate silence of the cosmos, one must carry the full chorus of humanity in the gentle hum of the life support system. The suit becomes a philosophical instrument that forces us to reconcile the internal strength of the individual with the external necessity of community. It shows that the greatest feats of solitude are, in fact, the greatest achievements of shared purpose. Let this deep, profound thought drift through your mind, like the slow, quiet expansion of a ripple on a dark, reflective lake, spreading outward from the singular point of the self. The spacesuit is not just a shield, it is a portable philosophy wrapped around the human form, an affirmation that even in the vast indifference of space, the most important element is the careful continuity of a single thinking life. The time for deep thought is slowing now. We prepare for the final gentle stage of our journey, a slow unwinding of all the concepts we have held. The soft ripple on the dark lake is settling, becoming smooth and still on the surface of the quiet water. We begin the reflective descent, slowing the mental and emotional energy, allowing the detailed thoughts and the complex geometry of the suit to become soft and less defined, guiding you toward a state of gentle rest. The image of the spacesuit is now not a technical diagram, but a gentle, soft white cloud, a vast, comforting symbol of perfect protection against an infinite unknown. Feel the weight of the knowledge we have gathered tonight, the pressure, the cooling, the breath, the gentle articulation of the joints, the philosophical paradoxes, all of it now settling into a single, unified feeling of profound calm and safety. There is no need now to hold on to the facts, the specifications, or the scientific names. Simply allow the feeling of safety to remain, the low, steady hum of the perfectly functioning life support system. The suit reminds us that vulnerability is not weakness. It is the simple, honest, biological truth of the living thing, the price of having a heart that beats and a mind that wonders, and that the greatest acts of strength often come in the form of perfect, gentle care. The careful flow of chilled water, the measured release of pure oxygen, the patient layering of 7 to 13 fabrics, all agreeing to sustain one life. Imagine the astronaut now, not as an explorer, but as a single sleeping figure, perfectly safe, suspended in the inky blackness, utterly at peace within the shell they carry. They are utterly safe. They are warm, shielded from the sun's fire and the shade's ice. They are breathing, the air purified and renewed with every cycle. Their heart is beating a slow, steady rhythm inside the protective shell. The Earth is a vast, impossible blue jewel floating in the distance, a planet of soft, turning clouds and deep oceans. And the astronaut is carrying a piece of that blue and green perfection right there on their back, in their quiet humming machine. The descent is slow, like the faint diminishing sound of a distant ringing chime, fading into the far reaches of your memory. The silence outside the suit is the deepest peace imaginable, the perfect quiet of space, and the silence within the suit is the perfect focus of the self, a quiet, contained mind. Let the sharp difference between the inner world and the outer world dissolve and blend into a single, soft suspension, a feeling of floating, perfectly balanced. We are all protected in some way by layers of care, the solid structure of the room around you, the soft warmth of your blanket, the kindness of others, and most fundamentally, the automatic, tireless, quiet work of your own body that maintains your internal perfect climate. The spacesuit is the externalization of this deep, internal function. The body's tireless work made visible and mechanical. Let all resistance go. Allow the thought of the spacesuit to become a soft lullaby of engineering and human will, a guarantee that you are, in this moment, perfectly secure. The layers blur now. The reflective mylar, the cooling water, the pressurized gas, they become one seamless shell of absolute assurance. The only thing left is the knowledge that effort was made, care was taken, and life persists. This final reflective stillness is the moment the astronaut waits for. When the work is done, the systems are stable, and the immense wonder of their situation can simply be absorbed without action or anxiety. Allow yourself to absorb that same feeling of completed effort. It requires no effort, only surrender. The sun will rise again, a slow, gentle ignition in the vast sky, much like the perfect, continuous flow of energy that sustains the world and the self. Think of the cycles we have explored. The cycle of pressure holding the body in form, the cycle of water cooling the skin, the cycle of air cleansing the lungs. These cycles never truly end. They only pause their active effort to move into a state of deep, calm equilibrium. You're drifting now, across the silent, shimmering layers of the suit, past the cooling tubes and the reflected light. You're no longer observing the suit. You're becoming the quiet sensation of containment. The boundary is soft now, no longer a point of tension, but a gentle, defining embrace. The great open questions about vulnerability and courage are receding, leaving only the simple, profound reality of this present moment. Safe, breathing, and still. The stars you imagined earlier are still there, millions of them, silent and indifferent, yet their light is now softened by the veil of your closing eyelids, transforming into a gentle internal kaleidoscope of colour and slow movement. Allow your consciousness to move with the slow rhythmic wash of the distant sea that began our journey. It is returning now, closer, softer, a lulling current pulling you out further into the deeper calm. The cooling water of the LCVG continues its flow, a soft stream over the skin, carrying away the last traces of wakefulness and heat, leaving behind a profound sense of cool, restful peace. There is nothing left to hold on to, nothing left to observe, and nowhere else to be. You're suspended now, between the world of waking thought and the vast, unpressurized frontier of your dreams, where gravity and logic hold no sway. Let the knowledge of the suit's perfection, the absolute certainty of its protection, be the final comforting anchor that allows your mind to entirely let go. You are safe, the system is stable, the current is gentle, the story continues in your dreams, where new structures and new possibilities await, where the laws of physics are exchanged for the fluid, expansive language of the resting mind. The learning is complete, the lesson is absorbed, the journey has reached its softest point of return, back to the deep, effortless balance of your own natural being. Rest now. I'll be here whispering through the quiet.